Hey there, trumpet players. This video is how to properly care for your instrument. So, first of all, when we are caring for our instrument, we want to make sure that our instrument is always stored in a safe place, which means inside its case and stored inside your house or inside your school. It should never be left in the car or like on a porch or something, any place where it's not temperature controlled. We don't want to expose our instrument to hot, extreme hot, or extreme cold, because that can break our instrument. Now, we have our instrument here. And first of all, when we pull our instrument out of our case, we want to move our slides just a little bit so that it doesn't get frozen. So there are 4 slides on your trumpet. We have our valves, 1, 2, and 3. We know those 3 valves. And we have our first valve slide, our second valve slide, our third valve slide, which is the one with the pinky ring, and our big tuning slide. So the first valve slide, we just pull out and in. You do not need to pull them all the way out and in. The second valve slide, you just pull out just a teensy tiny bit because it's a really small slide, and then push it back in. Our third slide valve, we slide out and in. And our tuning slide, we go out and in. Okay, that's just to make sure that they don't get stuck. Now, the next thing that you will need to do and learn how to do is oil your valves. So your valves are right here, 1, 2, and 3. And they will need to be oiled every once in a while. It's not all the time. You'll notice that your valves start to move slowly when they need to be oiled. And sometimes people struggle with getting their valves, like they get stuck down, especially the third one, if they don't have good hand position. Make sure when you are playing, your pinky is resting on top of the pinky rest and your fingers make a nice C shape. Do you see that nice C shape? Okay. All right. If they're like this, if they're flat, you can sometimes push your piston in at an angle and it causes it to scrape on the side of the valve, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so if it's been like, a little bit of time since you last valve oiled, or your valves are getting a little slow, we'll have to oil our valves. So what we do is we loosen the screw to all 1, 2, and 3 valves. And when you valve oil, you do not need to take the valves out all the way, but I'm going to take it out so you can see what it looks like. So this is the inside of your valve. And do you see those holes? When we push down our slide, the slide goes from here to down there, and it lines up with the holes in the tubes and changes the pitch of the trumpet. Okay? So our valve oil, and our valves, they are all numbered with 1, 2, and 3, okay? Okay, so we're going to take our valve oil. Some people have blue valve oil, and take the lid off. Some of the lids are child-proof, so you have to push down and twist, or you have to squeeze it. Ask your parent for help if you need help. You're going to take your valve oil, and you're going to put the valve oil, again, you do not need to take the valve all the way out of your trumpet. You're going to put the valve oil on the silver part around here, okay? We do not put the valve oil inside these tubes. It only goes on that silver part. And you only need a couple of drops. I always do it so that it's at the top, and then the oil can kind of use gravity to go down. And then you put the valve back in the trumpet and twist it as it goes down. So I have already valve oiled all 3 of my valves, but you're going to pull it out, put the valve oil on the silver part, put it back in. Pull it out, valve oil on the silver part, put it back in. Okay, now you can pause if you're trying to do this along with me, because I'm going to move on to the next step. Now, again, those holes that I showed you have to line up with the tubes down here. So we have to get this in the right spot so that it's in the same spot, because otherwise it's going to feel like you can't push any air through, or it's really, really stuffy. So we're going to take the top of the finger rest and turn righty-tighty until it clicks into place. And you're going to feel that kind of settle into place. And then we're going to take down here the valve cover, and we're going to turn it lefty-loosey until we feel it line up with the threads inside the screw, and then turn it righty-tighty. Now you should just watch and pause later to do this. So the second valve, again, we twist it by the finger rest, and then it clicks into place. We turn it lefty-loosey until we feel it click into place. And sometimes it's hard for this to click into place. Once it clicks into place, it'll be easy to screw on. Now, sometimes I think I get it clicked into place, and it's not. And this is a new trumpet, so sometimes it is a little bit difficult to get these screwed into place, and that's okay. So there we go. I got that one screwed into place. And again, if it doesn't screw easily, don't try to force it because you can ruin the threads on the screw. And then the third one, again, I turned it lefty-loosey until I felt it settle into the threads, and now I'm turning it righty-tighty. Okay, so those are all now valve oiled. Go ahead and pause and do the valve oiling and screwing if you haven't already. And then once you get started up, we're going to talk about a little bit more care. The bottom of our valves all have threads. They're all screws. So if they can also get frozen the way that these slides can get frozen. So I want you to take your fingers and just turn it lefty-loosey a little bit, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. That just means so that it doesn't get frozen. Okay, now last thing about screwing is at the top, these finger rests, they can also come unscrewed. So you can go, oh, this feels a little loose. They can also go lefty-loosey, and this one's kind of going weird. I'm going to use my first one. They can go lefty-loosey, which you do not want to do because the finger rest will fall off. It doesn't really matter if the finger rest falls off, it's just annoying because then you have to put it back on. So if you ever notice that your finger rests are loose or kind of clicking when you're playing, that's because it's not fully righty-tighty. So we just want to make sure that it's righty-tighty. We can press our fingers down on them. Okay? All right. So that is how to valve oil the long way. Now that took a little bit of time for us to do. And in the middle of band class, if you need to oil your valves, that's probably not the best way to do it because that's going to take a long time. Make sure that you are valve oiling when you're practicing at home or when you are getting your instrument out before band class starts. If you have an emergency and you need to valve oil really quickly, the fast way to do it is to turn it upside down. And do you see these holes here? We can use a suction cup on these holes, meaning when we press our valves down, it pushes all the air out of these holes. Okay, so if I press all the valves down like this, and I take my valve oil and put 2 drops in each hole, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then I'm still pressing down, I let it go, it's going to suction cup the oil back into the valves, and we can hold it upside down and pull it down. That only took me about 30 seconds to do. So in the middle of band class, that's the appropriate way to oil your valves. The best way to do it is when you are practicing at home or before band class even starts. Okay, now the last thing, and this is something that you should not have to do a whole lot. You might not even have this in your case, and that's okay. Your teacher will have this if you find that you need to use it. If your tuning slides are starting to get kind of gritty or, like weird, you can use tuning slide grease like this on these slides. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull the tuning slide out. And this one I can easily pull all the way out, so I'm going to pull it all the way out. And take a little bit of this grease and rub it in to the spot that's on the inside. That helps lubricate the slide so it stays nice and loose. So I'm lubricating this, and then I'm going to put it in just one side like this, and one slide like this. Okay? Okay, so we have our tuning slide, and I'm putting only one end in, and then I'm going to put both ends in. Now, When I put them in, one is slightly longer, so the bottom one's slightly longer, and then the top one. And I just kind of wiggle it in gently, okay? If it doesn't go in really easily, it means that it's not lining up nicely and you have to pull it back out and get it even, okay? If you need help, ask your teacher for help, okay? Never ever force anything. We're gonna do the same thing with our first valve slide. So we pull it off like this. We put a little bit of tuning slide grease on this side, and then it's not going to go on the outside of this. It's going to go on this part, which is the inside of the trumpet. And I have a napkin right next to me so that I can wipe off on my fingers. And then I'm going to take this and put it in nice and gently, okay? When you push it in, it's going to suction with your first valve, so it works to push your first valve down while you put it in. And then you can take the napkin and kind of clean it off again. Our second valve will do the same thing. Pop it off. We have these two pieces right here. Take the tuning slide grease and put a little bit of it on there, and then put it back in. And again, I have a little bit of gunk in there, and I want to relieve the pressure, so I put down my second valve. All right, and then the third valve, we don't need to pull it all the way off. I pushed down my third valve slide and pulled it out, so it looks like this. Taking my tuning slide grease, putting a little bit on here and a little bit on here. And I'm wiping off my fingers, and then I'm going to push my third valve in and bring it in. And then I have a little bit of gunky right there, so I'm going to wipe it off. All right. And then the last thing is if I ever have spit or condensation inside my trumpet, I have to empty out my spit valves. The main spit valve is the tuning slide spit valve, because if you see, this is where my air goes in, this is where it's going to get stuck first, okay? So if I ever have like a gurgling or a popping sound, I'm going to take my mouthpiece off or leave my mouthpiece on and put my lips around it. Oh, not buzzing through our mouthpiece because we don't want to make sound. And I'm going to go over a garbage or wherever your director tells you to go and open this valve and blow. Now, when a lot of people do this, they're going over the garbage can and their trumpets are like this. If I have my trumpet like this, my spit's going to bubble right here, and it's not going to go out where where the slide is. So you have to have your trumpet up like this and blow it out over whatever your director tells you to. Okay? I have another valve right here, which is for my third slide for valve. So if this one's making popping and gurgling sounds still, when I'm pressing down my third valve, that means there's spit caught in here. So I'm going to push this valve, or push my third valve down, push this down, and blow. Okay? And that should alleviate any spit or condensation that's in your trumpet. When you are done playing your trumpet, every single time you need to empty out your spit, because remember, your spit has enzymes in it that helps to break down food. And if you leave that in your trumpet, then it's going to break down your trumpet and it's going to eat away at the metal. So if we let that spit out, then it will dry up and it won't be an issue. Okay? So when I put my trumpet away, I'm going to set it inside my case and close the lid, and I always latch it, because if it's not latched, it has a potential that somebody could pick it up thinking that it is shut properly and throw your trumpet across the room because it's going to fall out of the case. Okay? All right, guys. I hope that video helps you keep your trumpet in really nice working order for many, many years. And remember that you always need to send in your instrument once a year to get it cleaned and professionally upkept. And that's going to keep your trumpet in good working condition for many, many years. All right. Thanks for watching, and I hope that video helped you keep your trumpet in nice working condition. Bye.